catch me howling at the moon.
Hey everyone, I'm Roy with Cape Fear Family Law, and I'm here with Jim Canada to talk about car appraisal. So Jim, tell us about what you do.
Well, we are the Auto Appraisal Group, and I'm an agent that represents their company here in the Coastal Carolinas. We appraise cars. That's what we do. We assign values, we evaluate conditions, and you'd be surprised at how often you have to have a car appraised and a value assigned to that car. So we appraise cars for all kinds of different reasons. Financial reasons, insurance value, estate value, divorce settlements, diminutive value or diminution of value, which I can explain more later. So there's all kinds of reasons that we appraise cars, and we appraise all types of cars. They can be antique cars, classic cars, brass era cars, new cars, trucks, golf carts, you name it. If it has a VIN or some sort of identifying number, we can appraise that car and put a value on it.
So how do you get into car appraisal?
So I'm a car enthusiast. I've loved cars ever since I was a little kid. My dad was a master mechanic, not trained, but I grew up around cars. I grew up around motorsports and going to motorsports, so I just love cars. I bought my first classic car about 4 years ago, and I had this company, Auto Appraisal Group, actually do the appraisal for it. And when the gentleman came out to do my appraisal, I was like, wow, that is a cool job. I mean, it's like you go around and you see all these cool cars and you get to do something you really love. So when I semi-retired when I moved down here about 1.5 years ago with my wife, and I said, let me reach out to these guys and see if they have representation here on the Coastal Carolinas. And they needed someone here, so I went through the process. I got my certification, and it's what I do. It is, quite frankly, a hobby job for me. I have other things that I pursue as well, but that's how I got into it. I just love cars. I love being around cars, and I love being around car people. Most people who have, especially classic cars, are a different breed, if you will, or it's a different type of person, and I like talking to them. I like interacting with them, getting to know them.
So tell me what the car appraisal process is like, start to finish.
Sure. So it depends on why we're appraising the car, whether it's for insurance value. We also do what we call pre-purchase inspection. So a pre-purchase inspection is someone who is thinking about buying a car, usually a classic car, and they want an expert to take a look at it and evaluate that car and determine, what kind of condition it's in, but also what it's really worth. Is it worth what the person who is selling it says it's worth? So it depends, but oftentimes it's a pretty it's the same process typically that we go through. We evaluate the car from just an overall condition standpoint. If it is a metal car, Corvettes are not metal, they are fiberglass. We do measure the paint. We go around the car and we measure the paint thickness, which also tells us if there's filler or Bondo in the car. We also look at every aspect of the car, the engine, the front end of the car, the fenders, and we evaluate every aspect. It's about a 12-page form that we fill out, and we judge everything or evaluate everything on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best and 1 being really poor. So there are not many 5s out there in the market. 5s are cars that are sitting on the showroom and have never been driven. So it takes a lot for your car to get a 5 rating on any aspect. I gather all of that information. I take somewhere between probably 100 and 200 photos of the car. I do the evaluation on this form, and actually we're doing it electronically these days on an iPad. I send that information to Charlottesville, which is where our headquarters is located.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I send that information to Charlottesville, and then our team in Charlottesville takes that information and basically compares it to other cars that are in like condition. We collect over 300,000 car sales in our database on a monthly basis. So there's a good chance that we have multiple cars like yours that we can compare to in terms of value. And that's how we come up with the value of the car. Larry Batten, who's the founder of the company, he's our master appraiser, and he's typically involved in just about every appraisal that we do. So he looks at those comps, He looks at the conditions, and then he assigns the value, and there's also a written appraisal report that he sends to the customer or the client.
So I know you do a lot of work with classic cars, antique cars. With, you know, more modern cars, when people are trying to get appraisals, what are common issues they're not thinking about when they go into the process?
Yeah, and a lot of people think about the car appraisal business as just for classics and, you know, antique cars. But for the late model cars or the newer cars, there's a couple of reasons. One that we do is lease turnback. People have a car on lease and they turn it back. The lease company says it's worth this, but if you want a second opinion, if you will, on what the value of that car might be, we're a good source for that. Probably the biggest one that we see, quite frankly, in terms of late model cars is called diminution of value or diminutive value of your car. This is when your car is in an accident, a third-party accident. So someone basically runs into you and damages your car. After your car is fixed, it is no longer worth what it was before the accident. So you are entitled to that loss of value, typically from the other person's insurance company. So let's say your car is worth $30,000 before the accident, but after the accident costs $5,000 to $8,000, $10,000 to repair. Your car is only worth $25,000. And nowadays with CARFAX, there's no kind of hiding the fact that a car has been repaired. If you were to go try and sell your car or trade it in, somebody's going to say, oh, this car has been damaged. It's not worth what it was before the accident. So you're entitled to that loss of $5,000 in the value of your car. So people hire us to help assess what was that car worth before the damage, what's that car worth after the damage, and how much they're entitled to from the insurance company.
So how do you guys use CARFAX?
We don't necessarily use CARFAX. We primarily rely on our own database in terms of the values of the car. So we're not in the car sales business. We're not in the car buying business. That is not what we do. So we're totally independent of buying and selling automobiles. So our only objective is to put the right value on your car for whatever the reason might be.
So there's been a lot of changes in automobiles recently. So how do you go about evaluating, say, an electric car, a Tesla?
I don't think the process would vary that much. Obviously, those are unique circumstances. Totally electric cars are certainly something that's coming online and people are buying more and more of. I personally have not evaluated a Tesla. I'm positive that one of our 200 agents at this point in time probably hasn't somewhere else in the country. If I had to evaluate a Tesla, I'd probably reach out to headquarters and say, okay, what's the process here? But I think we would go through the same process. We would measure the paint. We would measure the overall condition of the car. There's probably some differences we would look at in terms of looking at battery versus internal combustion engine type process. So I think the process would be the same, but there's probably some components that we would look at in an electric car that are different, obviously, than an internal combustion engine car.
Well, everyone, thanks for watching. You can find Jim's contact information below the video, and reach out to us and tell us what kind of cars you might want to praise. And on your way out, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check back for more videos.